Well, whether you are here in the worship center or following along in Access or on the radio or the internet or Sarpy County, wherever you might be at this point, I've got some good news to start off our message this morning. And that good news is God loves you. God loves you. Someone say amen to that. Yeah. It is really, really good news that the God of the universe, who invented everything, who created us, who made us in His image, He loves us. Regardless of what our past is, regardless of the things that we've done wrong, He loves us. And so He wants what's best for us. He's like a loving father investing in his kids. I've told you sometimes before that I really hope two things for my kids more than anything else in this world. That they would grow up to love Jesus and make wise decisions about their life. Love Jesus and make wise decisions. All of the other things, may go up and down. Academics may be good or bad. Athletics may be good or bad. Personal wealth may be good and bad. Status in this world may be good and bad. But if they love Jesus and if they make wise decisions, well, they'll be on a good track. And so God has the same thing in store for us. He wants us to love Him with all of our heart and soul and mind and strength. He wants us to love each other. And He's given us a book that teaches us all about wisdom. Because He loves us and He wants us to make good choices with our life. It's the book of Proverbs, and we're in our 9th message from the book of Proverbs that's discussing how to be wise. And one of the interesting things about the book of Proverbs is that it uses a foil to talk about the flip side of wisdom. So it says, on the one hand, here's how to be wise, and on the other hand, here's how to avoid wisdom, or here's what it looks like when you avoid wisdom, and that principle is called foolishness. And the writer of Proverbs set aside foolishness as a major subject in the book of Proverbs in order for us to see the flip side of wisdom and to know what not to do. Now, a fool in his essence is somebody who is out of touch with the basic facts of reality. Somebody who doesn't live according to the way that God ordered the world, but lives against the way that God ordered the world. And there are certain things about this world that are just ordered in particular ways. There is a physical order to this world. There's a biological order to this world. There is a social order. There is a moral order. There is a spiritual order. And God says the wise person lives in step with all of these orders, the way that God designed things. And when you go out of that order, you're looking for trouble. For example, just a practical example, there's a physical order to this world. Like God created our bodies to be able to consume certain products, right? So you eat a salad, and that's good for your body. You eat fruit, it's good for your body. You eat meat, it's good for your body. And your body is designed to process those things. There are other things your body is not designed to process, like rubber, okay? We don't eat rubber. It's just wise not to eat rubber. Gasoline. Okay, we don't drink gasoline because it was not designed for your body. It's not a food. Cheetos. Cheetos were not designed as food. God did not make Cheetos. So it may not be wise to put those in your body. There are certain things that are wise and not wise to put in your body. There's a moral and spiritual order in this world as well. Most people would agree that if we teach individuals to treat their own individual good over the common good, then it'll lead towards social breakdown and anarchy. It'll be a terrible way for the world to be designed if everyone puts their interests above the common good. The other thing that Proverbs teach is that if you build your life on anything besides God, you'll have tragedy and loss and pain and ultimately psychological breakdown because you've begun to build your life on something that can't handle the full weight of life. And the person who decides to live contrary to the ways of God, contrary to the way that the world has been designed, is somebody who's called a fool. And there's actually 3 different kinds of fools that are discussed in the book of Proverbs, and they're all 3 introduced in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 22, which says this. Proverbs 1:22, how long will you who are simple love your simple ways? How long will mockers delight in mockery and fools hate knowledge? Now you'll notice that there are 3 different words that are used for fool in this particular passage. There's the simple, there's the mocker, and there's the fool. And each of those comes from a different Hebrew word for fool. And each of them have some slightly different connotations that if you study them throughout the book of Proverbs, you'll see there's really 3 kinds of fools in the Proverbs. The first one is the simple. Now, the simple is somebody who just doesn't know any better. They're naive, they're unlearned, they're likely to be young. An example of the simple might be a 3-year-old who goes up to the barbecue pit and pulls out a coal and tries to touch it to his mouth. Well, that's not something that's real smart to do, but you don't blame a 3-year-old for not knowing that that is going to be very painful to do. You wouldn't call him a fool. You say, hey, he's simple, he's naive. But if you're 13 or 23 or 53 and you do that, you go, what an idiot. We should put that on YouTube. That was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen anybody do. Or not put it on YouTube probably is the smarter thing to do. But somebody who is just naive, they just don't know any better, well, they're known as the simple. The Hebrew word for that is pethi. Everybody say pethi. Oh, that was pathetic. I can't believe you guys didn't quite get that. Second word that we see used over in Proverbs is fool, the word fool. And the word fool, the Hebrew word for that is kasil. Everyone say kasil. That was better. And kasil is just another word. It's the word that could be translated fool or just idiot or stupid or dull or one Crayola short of a 64-pack. Sharp as a marble, just escaped from the land of Nimrod. You get the idea, right? Fools are people that just keep on doing stupid things. They never learn their lesson. They repeat the same things over and over again. They never change. They never seek advice. They never invite God into their life to do something new. See, people who are wise are folks who say, you know what, I can handle it on my own. I'll take my own advice. I'll live independently. I don't need God to intersect in my life. I don't need other people praying for me. I can handle it on my own. And they keep heading down the same foolish patterns. A mocker is the third one. And a mocker comes from the Hebrew word pronounced lutz. Everyone say lutz. Okay, say it better. Say lutz. Good. Okay, lutz is, or a mocker, is somebody who not only does the wrong thing, but they hold scorn or derision towards a person who's giving them wise advice, or who's a counselor, or who's living wisely. They're people who actually have bad thoughts towards those who are living wise and criticize them publicly as they go down their path towards foolishness. Now, if you're trying to discern between whether somebody is simple or a fool or a mocker, one of the best ways that you can determine the difference between the three is to ask the question, how does each handle criticism? So those who are the simple are devastated by criticism. They're devastated by criticism. They don't have the intestinal fortitude to be able to handle it. They're oftentimes young and naive, and so criticism devastates them. A fool will understand criticism and just shrug it off. Say, you know what? Hey, thanks for the advice, but I'm going to keep living my life the same way that I kept on living. They'll just ignore criticism. Mockers will chafe under criticism. They will mock the criticism, even seek revenge for the criticism. That's how you can tell the difference between the three. And the interesting thing is that none of these three categories handle criticism well. Some of us have those in our lives who are fools. They're fools, they're mockers, they're the simple. And you ask the question, well, how does the Proverbs say I should address these people? It's interesting, in Proverbs chapter 26, verses 4 and 5, you get conflicting advice in there. It says this, don't answer the foolish person or fools, or you will become as foolish as they are. The foolish arguments of fools, or you will become as foolish as they are. Then the very next verse says, be sure to answer the foolish argument of fools, or they will be wise in their own estimation. You look at those two verses side by side and say, which is it? Should we answer them or should we not answer them? And what Solomon is pointing out is if you try and instruct people who are fools, it's a lose-lose situation. If you wind up instructing them, they will likely ignore you and maybe get you sucked into their foolish arguments. If you try not to instruct them, they'll think that they're all smart and wise and they'll keep on living the way that they have. It has a lot more to do with the character of the person who is receiving the criticism than the way the person gives the criticism. Now, everybody, all of us, start in that category of being simple, of being naive. The difference between someone who grows up to be a fool or a mocker and somebody who grows up to be wise is how they, in fact, listen to criticism, how they take advice. As a matter of fact, I would say the second most important factor in living a wise life is this: how do you handle counsel from wise people? How do you handle counsel from wise people? Because those who grow to be wise embrace counsel. They seek counsel. They stock their lives with wise and honest people that will speak directly into their lives and tell them the way things are and help them to live their lives better. Fools and mockers, and those who wind up being fools and mockers, walk away from that wise counsel. We hear about this over and over in the book of Proverbs, this key difference. Listen to Proverbs 9, 7 through 9. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insults, and whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. Do not rebuke mockers, or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning. See, huge difference on how the wisdom is received. The wise receive it, and they become even wiser. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 15 says, the way of a fool seems right to him, but a wise man listens to advice. The fool does his own thing. No matter what anybody else says, he keeps doing his own thing. But wise people listen to advice. Proverbs 13:13, same thing. He who scorns instruction will pay for it, but he who respects a command is rewarded. And then this verse here, this next verse, is probably my favorite proverb in all of the book of Proverbs. So if you want to know my favorite, listen to this. It says this, Proverbs 38:38. He who listens to his pastor is wise, but those who mock sermons will be beaten with many blows. Isn't that a good proverb there? Actually, that's a fake proverb. I totally made that up. There is no Proverbs 38, and I just wanted to insert that in and make it sound like a proverb. The truth is, I stopped listing out these proverbs. There's about 18 others that I found in there that basically say the same thing. Wise people listen to counsel. Foolish people don't listen to counsel. So the question I have to ask you is, are you listening to counsel? Are you seeking counsel? Before you make decisions, do you talk to wise people about what would make that decision a wise decision? Are there people in your life that you've given permission to them and you say, hey, if you see me messing up, if you see me doing something foolish, if you see me making bad decisions, then would you speak into my life? Because oftentimes people won't speak into your life when it's hard unless they're invited to do so. Let me ask you this question. When is the last time you were rebuked? I mean, somebody got up in your grill and told you about something that was going wrong in your life. If it's been a long time since you've been rebuked, well, maybe the reason why you haven't been rebuked, Lisa. Bummer when that happens. Maybe the reason that you have not been rebuked recently is because people are afraid that you'll be a mocker or you'll be a fool, that you'll shrug off their wisdom or their advice, or that you'll insult them or mock them in the background. That it'll be like speaking to a fool, and whether you say something or say nothing, it goes off into the wind and doesn't do any good. One of the good things about having been rebuked is that people feel the safety to speak into your life and tell you the truth about the way things really are. And wise people actually seek this out. They want people to speak into their lives. Players who listen to their coach become better players. Soldiers who listen to their commanders become better soldiers. Students who listen to their teacher become more proficient in their subject matter. Anybody who listens to the wise among them becomes wise. So who is it that speaks into your life? Who gives you the truth? Who has the guts to say the truth to you when you need it? You need to make sure that your life is surrounded by advisors. Because the Bible teaches that bad things happen to those who keep on walking down the road of the foolish life. Here's some of the bad things that happen to you. Here's some of the characteristics of somebody who continues on in being foolish. Number one, they get taken advantage of because they are gullible, the gullible. Proverbs 14:15 says, the simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. The simple believe anything. And just to be able to illustrate this for all of you guys today, I had our tech people come up with a little device. It's kind of a light thing that they flash up on the ceiling. And as soon as I point up, it's got the word written on the ceiling, gullible. Check this out. Watch. Everyone look. Some of you looked, didn't you? See, the Proverbs say the simple believe anything, but the prudent give thought to their steps. Okay, just trying to make a little humor in the middle there. The truth is, if you're foolish, people take advantage of you. They note it, they watch you, they see how unwise you are, and they'll take advantage of your life. And God doesn't want you to go there. Foolish people receive punishment. Folly brings punishment to fools, it says in chapter 16, verse 22. Foolish people blame their failure on God. The truth is, they walk down a foolish path, they did stupid things, and they get to the end, and they're lying in the middle of the consequences of their foolishness, and they point back and say, God, why have you given me such a terrible lot in life? And the truth is, they made that lot for themselves. Proverbs 19:3, people ruin their lives by their own foolishness, and then they're angry at the Lord. Proverbs chapter 26, verse 11 talks about how fools keep going back to the same thing over and over again, and it's disgusting. As a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats his folly. And I think the writer of the Proverbs just wanted to make it really clear just how ugly it is and how unwise it is to go back to your sin. It's just like a dog licking up its old vomit, and it's just going to puke again. But some of us live that way. Some of us live that way, where you go back to the same old habits. You know the consequences of debt, but you keep on overspending. You know the consequences of your addiction, that it sends you into a downward spiral, but you'll go back to that addictive behavior, even though you know that it's unwise. You know that it hurts you and hurts your marriage to look at that stuff on the internet, but for whatever reason, you keep on going back to that same old thing. You know it's destructive to cut your own body, but you're still involved in cutting your own body. And fools keep on going back and repeating the folly that they've been engaged in, even though they know it's destructive. Proverbs 26:1 teaches us that a fool isn't going to receive honor. Like snow in summer, honor is not fitting for a fool. Fools lash out when they get discovered. Proverbs 17:12. It's safer to meet a bear robbed of her cubs than to confront a fool caught in foolishness. Now, there's a graphic image, isn't it? The mama grizzly bear protecting her cubs. But it's safer to confront her than the fool that's been caught doing something foolish. People who are foolish will never be invited to give advice in leadership circles. Chapter 24, verse 7. Wisdom is too lofty for fools. Among the leaders at the city gate, they have nothing to say. Fools actually endanger themselves by their own words. Chapter 18, verses 6 and 7. Fools' words get them into constant quarrels. They're asking for a beating. The mouths of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. When fools say foolish things, they wind up asking for a beating. And the truth is, the writer of the Proverbs is a dad who loves his kids. He loves the young men that he's influencing in his lives. And he says, guys, don't go down the path of foolishness. Choose wisdom instead. When you choose foolishness, you're choosing pain. You're choosing to get beat up. And you're choosing to be in a place where you'll never be asked to give advice in leadership circles. To be the person who lashes out, to repeat your folly, to receive no honor, to be gullible, to receive punishment, to blame your failure ultimately on God. This is not a good way to live your life. So in order to be wise, you need to take advice. Do a moral inventory or a relational inventory of your life this week and ask the question, who are the people that I've positioned to give me advice and speak wisdom into my life? Because you need them. You need them. It's interesting that in the Proverbs, the only way to get wisdom is to admit your foolishness, to admit your simplicity, to say, you know what, I have needs. I'm not all that wise where I am right now. And the more you become wise, the more you become able to admit how unwise you are and how much you need other people to speak into your life. It's the oxymoron of foolishness and wisdom, that those who are truly wise walk into wisdom through the door of foolishness. We see this principle repeated throughout the Bible. It's interesting that there's a number of people that came to visit Jesus. You remember when he was very first born? Jesus, when he was born in the manger. There were some people who came from the east. They were the intelligentsia of the day. They were the people who could read the stars. They were the learned. They were some of the smartest people in their country. They were known as the wise men, right? Not the foolish men, not the court jesters. They were the wise men. And they were wise enough to know that despite the fact that I have all of this wisdom, there is one who's entering into this world, and even as a baby, he's far greater than me, and I'm willing to travel halfway around the world just to bow the knee and bring him a gift and offer him worship. That's what the wisest people in the world do, is they bow the knee and worship at the manger. The Apostle Paul talked about this oxymoron in 1 Corinthians chapter 20 and 21 as well. He said this, "Where is the wise person? Where's the teacher of the law? Where's the philosopher of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world, through its wisdom, did not know him, God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe." It's a great passage to read in its entirety, but the essence of it is God's foolishness is way more wise than even the best wisdom of this world. If he's the one who created us, if he's the one who made the human mind, and he's revealed to us, look guys, here's the way that I've created the world, it's only wise to say whatever I can accumulate on my own is just pathetic compared to the wisdom that God offers to me in his word and the way things that have been designed in this world. God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe. And ultimately, that foolishness comes down to the cross of Jesus, considered to be ultimate foolishness by the rest of the world, of one who is great that would become nothing, one who is the very wisdom of God that would humble himself to be beaten by his own creation, that life would come into this world through death, that forgiveness would come through beatings and pain and torture. This is the wise message of God. It sounds like utter foolishness and ridiculousness to the rest of the world, but it's God's wisdom. And the truth is, when you buy into God's foolishness, when you become somebody who follows this peasant carpenter from Nazareth who claimed to be God against all of the odds, people around you will begin thinking that you're crazy. They'll think that you're foolish because your beliefs look different than the beliefs of the rest of the world. The rest of the world will think that your morality is way too strict if you follow Jesus. They will think that you're crazy to give your money away. They'll be baffled that you serve with no financial payback. They won't believe that you believe what you believe. You see, when you align with God, people will see you as being someone who's foolish. But the interesting thing is, as God comes into your life and he transforms your mind and he helps you to see things with greater clarity through the lens of his perspective, all of a sudden you realize how foolish the world is who thinks that they're all wise. You'll look at people who are destroying their lives by going into negative patterns, and you'll ask, why do they keep doing that? When they could just invite the power of God into their life and he would bring about internal change. You'll look at moral decisions, political decisions, business decisions, family decisions that people make, and they will baffle you because the wise road just becomes so obvious when you align with God's purposes. When you grasp that this baby in the manger is actually the center of the universe, it changes your perspective on the entirety of your life, your family, your country, this world, the purpose of life, and our place in this world. It has to be the center of wisdom, which brings us to the single most important question when it comes to wisdom. I told you earlier the second most important question is how do you take advice? Well, the first most important question is what are you going to build your life on? What are you going to build your life on? Proverbs 9:1 says this, "Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn it out of 7 pillars." 7, of course, is the symbolic number for completeness in the Bible, that which is fully done. And pillars would be a symbol of strength. You build your house on what's strong and what's been finished. Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27, Jesus expounds on this idea of the best place to be building your house. And you'll remember that Jesus created a parallel between the foolish builder and the wise builder. Where does the foolish builder build? Where does the wise builder build? And he said in his parable, Matthew 7, 24 through 27, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. My favorite way of illustrating this illustration that Jesus gave is a song that was sung a number of years ago called The Two Sets of Joneses. And in each of our different venues, we've got somebody ramped up to be able to sing that song for you right now. Well, where are you going to build your house? Are you going to build it on the shifting sands or on the solid rock? You know, this illustration with the two sets of Joneses becomes really obvious about what it's about, isn't it? Are you going to build your life on money and security? Or are you going to be like Reuben and Sue who say, we got nothing but Jesus? But every night that we're going to pray that Jesus will take care of us. There are people who spend their life, and to be honest, this is most people. Most people spend their life, and they build their life on something that's not going to last. They build their life on something that is going to wind up being shifting sands for them. And so they start their life in the sandbox. And when you get in there, you realize when you're on sand that this is not something that's stable to build on. But people do it anyway. People build their lives on money and financial security. And there's some people who have done that. Maybe you're one of those people who's done that. Some people will build their life on an athletic career. Or they'll build their life on their own intelligence and the degrees that they can get. And they pursue degree after degree in universities in order to be able to demonstrate their intellectual prowess over other people, or their ability to climb the corporate ladder to get to the highest location on that ladder, and their security is found in those places. Some people build their lives not on the shifting sands of status or money, but they build it on the shifting sands of a relationship. And they go, oh, if I could just please my wife or my kids or my dad, if I can just make certain people in my life happy, then I'll be happy. And that'll bring about fulfillment in my life. And they spend much of their life working on making other people happy. You find that these are shifting sands, though. And one of the saddest things I see is parents, and this is in the community and right here in the church, who can only be as happy as their most miserable child. You know people like that? That's the height of their joy level. Instead of building their life on Jesus, they've built their life on the happiness of their children, and they can only go as far as their children go. There are other people that have built their life just on their own satisfaction and pleasure and entertainment, and they bounce from entertainment piece to entertainment piece in order to be able to get the bigger high, the bigger rush, and they keep on pursuing bigger and happier and stronger things in their lives. Some just go to video games and spend their lives building their life, no kidding, and you know if this is the case for you, waiting for those moments that you can be at home and be on the computer, be on the video games, and you spend all kinds of late hours doing that. You're building your life on all the wrong things. It's building your life on shifting sands. And there are people all over this world who build their lives on shifting sands. They've done it, and they're going to continue to do it. Now, the place that's probably the most dangerous is when there are people who build their life on shifting sands and then cover it up with just enough Christianity to make it look good. And there are probably hundreds of people here today that are doing that, even in our very own church. You haven't built your life on Jesus, you're actually building your life on something else, but you come and visit Jesus twice a month at church, and you don't give him much thought in between those times. He's more of a window dressing into your life. He's an extra addition. He's a way to be able to cover your eternal bases, or maybe going to church is something that helps you to network socially in the community, to make a good appearance, to have people think the best of you. And you keep on going through that. But the truth is, one day, what you've built your life on will be revealed. You notice one of the things that Jesus said about the person who built their life on the shifting sands and on the solid rock is that for both of them, the winds blow, the streams rise, and tragedy is going to strike. You know, for the athlete, it may be when the career-ending injury strikes. For the person who's been placing their trust in their health, cancer may strike. For the person that's been building a business as the hope of their life, the economy turns upside down and the business crashes, or the job gets lost. For the person who's been looking at relationships, it may be an affair or a kid that goes astray, and you find that you've been putting way too much stock in that stuff rather than in Jesus. You see, the person who has Jesus as the solid rock and not just as a window decoration consults Jesus every day. They find life in spending time with Jesus. They can't go a day without having conversations with Jesus about the conversations they're having with other people. Jesus is the primary advisor on their decisions. Jesus is as close to someone who builds their life on him as your blood is close to your veins. He just courses throughout you all the time. My question is, have you added Jesus on as an extra religious decoration in your life, or have you built your life on Jesus, with him as the very center of your life? You know, there's a difference between building your life on the shifting sands and building your life on the solid rock. You know, it's Jesus' way of talking about how the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The wise person puts his words into practice, and they live their life based entirely on who he is. This is not an incremental act. This is a revolutionary act in your life. It's something that brings about dramatic change, having the basic foundation of your life be on something other than what the rest of the world puts their basic foundation in. What you need to be able to say is, God, whenever there's anything that comes up in the Bible and you and I disagree, you win. You get to have your way in my life. If there's any unhealthy patterns that are going on in my life, if I have godly, wise friends who speak into my life and they say change needs to happen, then I'll do it. I'll do whatever you tell me to do, Jesus. Any command that there is in the Bible, I'll go ahead and obey. And I'll just warn you, one of the first commands that Jesus gives in the Bible is, if you want to follow me, then you show it by going public with baptism, and you let the whole world know that you're my follower. And the good news for us today is that if you're in that place and you're a follower of Jesus, you've never been baptized, you can get baptized today. Just show up at 4:30, we'll get you an interview, and we'll get you in the mix, and we'll help you to be able to be baptized if you feel compelled by God, that you need to obey him in everything that he commanded you to. If you're holding out on this point, there's some serious questions whether you're building your life on the rock or you're building it on shifting sands, because you're not willing to obey Jesus in the very first thing that he tells you to do. Someone who builds on the rock says, Jesus, anything you tell me to do, I'll do it. It's my time, it's my priorities, it's my finances, whatever it is, I will obey you. You just say the word and I'll follow you. That's what it looks like to build your life on the rock. And the good news that comes along with building your life on the rock is that Jesus says, I got all kinds of promises for you. The promises aren't that you won't face cancer, that the rivers won't rise, that you won't get the game-ending injury. The promises are, I'll be with you through all of that mess. This world's going to be messed up, but I will walk with you through that mess every step of the way. And if you live your life by wisdom that I give you, you'll avoid a lot of the pain that foolish people wind up getting themselves into, just by following the things that I've told you to do. You see, God loves you, and he wants what's best for you. So when he invites you to build on the solid rock, it's never because he wants anything but the very best for your life. He wants you to live for him. But you've got to make a decision to do that. You've got to have the humility to say, I'm not there yet. As a matter of fact, I've been engaging in some kind of foolishness in my life, and I need wisdom. If you're not willing to get to that place of admitting your foolishness or admitting that there have been some ways in your life that you've been building on the sinking sands, you will never get to the place where you're building on the solid rock. It takes humility to do that. And that's why in just a few minutes, we're going to invite people to come forward and receive prayer. Those who have humility, those who are willing to change, those who are willing to say, you know what, I've got some foolishness that needs to be taken care of, are the kind of people who are willing to say, I need prayer. And we'll have some wise people up here that will help you to receive prayer, to move from the shifting sands to the solid rock. Now, for some of you, what that is that's a first-time decision. You say, I have never made a decision to follow Jesus before, and I need to do that. And you come forward, and we'll pray with you, and it'll be a glorious day for you. For others of you, it'll be that, yeah, I decided to follow Jesus, but the truth is I've been messing around in foolishness. I've been building my life on stuff that I should not be building my life on. And you know what those kinds of things are. You know, maybe you've been going to addictions for a particular kind of satisfaction. Maybe you've been blowing up with people around you, and you just need God to come in and intervene in your life so that you can be built on a solid rock and live by wisdom. Maybe you've just been drifting from God, and coming to church has just become something that you check the box on your weekly schedule and you move on with life. And you say, I'm tired of messing with religion. I want Jesus to be the center of my life. Whatever it is for you, we're going to invite you to come forward and to be able to receive prayer. We got wise people that will be here. We've got elders and pastors and prayer healing people, men and women that will be up front, and we would love to pray for you. And it's like a no judgment prayer time. Whatever's going on in your life, we'll be glad to pray for you and help you to move from the shifting sands to the solid rock. And that's what happens with wise people. They admit their foolishness, they ask for help, they take counsel, and they move on. So my invitation to you today is to be a wise person, to invite prayer into your life, and to get unstuck so that you can build your life on the solid rock of Jesus.